Right. Good morning and welcome to the show. This is the Weekly Jargon. I am Jose Rodriguez.
Rohi Zachariah.
And today we're absent Abel Perez again, but he'll be joining us here in a couple of minutes. So stick around and we'll definitely make this thing happen. But today, Rohi, we're going to talk about the local political arena that's taking place. And I know that's kind of exciting for some folks looking to see who their preferred candidate is. And believe it or not, our own Abel Perez is running for the MUSD Board of Trustee. So your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the signs have gone up. They're starting to hit all the houses around my neighborhood, especially. And I know local politics. You know, when people get all geared up, you know, we had the VP debates last night. People get heated over that, but local politics is where it matters, right? I mean, those are the people that are going to make the decisions in your local community. So those are the ones that you definitely have to put some extra weight on and consider, because they're going to affect the things you're actually going to see, as opposed to maybe the grand scale items that you get. But it's tough. There's a lot of people running this time around, and they do have some goods and bads. But I don't know. I mean, what are your standouts?
Well, yesterday was the City Council Candidates Forum, right? And I missed that, but obviously there will be some comments floating around, I'm sure, on your social media platforms. And I'm sure I'll hear it. I'm sure I'll hear it from someone in the community. Hey, did you watch this? And frankly, I didn't have an opportunity to watch that. I was actually out in support of our president at the Madera College, Dr. Reyna. I think there was some uproar there, especially with faculty regarding the latest competency-based education that they're trying to launch out there. I think there's some other colleges and UCs that have already adopted it. But here I think there may have been some rubbing the wrong way with the faculty, and I think they were expressing their frustration of no confidence on that. But again, I think if you really overlook those small formalities or encroachments of that, there's a new system that's trying to come into our arena or our county. Madera College is the only higher learning institution here in Madera. So looking at the population, especially, the poverty that we have sometimes here, I think it does call for thinking outside the box and trying to do something different to be able to spring up higher learning in a way that may differ from your traditional standard way of learning, right? That we've been doing for almost over a century, if not more. So, obviously there was frustration on the faculty side, and I totally understand that, because teachers, they are the ones that are in the trenches there trying to provide the education, the curriculum, so to speak. And sometimes, not having their involvement in that could potentially lead to these votes of no confidence. But that aside, I mean, sometimes you need someone to stir things up, to be able to start having you think outside the box. How do we make an impact, especially for this community? And more so, like for the students that we serve, the student population. Think about it. The student population, the city of Madera, predominantly Latino, and then again, you look at the MUSD rates of free and reduced rates, it's over 80%. So we get a lot of funding for that. So what can we do with that funding? This Measure Q going out there again to support these state colleges, state centers and the community colleges. How do we utilize that funding to be able to lift these folks up in a better way, especially in transitioning with AI, technology, with ag and all that? So I think this calls for a new way, a new system. Again, it may not rub people the right way, but this is where both sides come together and find a solution for it.
So, I mean, having watched the vice president debates last night, the focus was, taxes, immigration, the inflation. How does that trickle down to a candidate here locally? I mean, what power or what platform could somebody speak on when we say, there's concern about the cost of my eggs or, my cost of my rent? Does the city, the council as a whole, have the ability to really address those issues? Or what seems to be from the constituents, what's the concerns of the local politics? What is it that people want or want changed?
Well, and when you talk about that inflation, and it's not just central to any specific region of the U.S.
Sure.
It's now global. But here's the thing: is that when we talk about that, it's not just the residents that are facing that; it's also all the employees, the cost of goods, the cost of doing certain projects, and
But
what
is there
have
something
you.
that can you
Well-
like as a council
well-
member? Can you is there power to the city council to address those items, or do you have to shift focus elsewhere?
The only power that I think we hold is to stimulate the economy to be able to bring up those jobs so that we can increase disposable income.
Okay.
Because if we're not, Rohi, then we're going to be subject to what everybody else is going, right? I mean, we have a minimum wage right now that's what, at $15.50?
Sure.
Right? $16. Federal minimum wage hasn't really moved much. It's at $7.50 or $7.75. I don't know where that's at, but I know that certainly, I don't think it would work here in California.
Yeah.
And some people may argue, and this may be outside of our local politics here, right? This may be a state deal where, well, what the hell's going on? You know, why can't we afford the loaf of bread, the gallon of milk, the gallon of gas? You know, all those things are questionable. But do they really lie solely on your city council? Yeah. Our job as a city council is to try to find opportunities for us to continue to grow our economy, our local economy. And if we don't grow local economy, we don't collect on those property taxes, sales taxes, and a lot of those revenues that depend that we depend on to be able to fund our services, right? Water, for example, and sewer, those are ratepayers.
Yeah.
When the cost of fixing sewers and trying to get you water, deliver water goes up, then you have to pass that on to the ratepayers. So how do we control that? Well, I mean, for us, it's really hard because this is an outside factor affecting us as well. The cost of eggs, for example, we're not. If we had our own autonomy of creating our own local economy, I think you can really put that finger on that city council. You can put that finger on your representatives here, but it's not. It's outside forces as well, and that's the market working at its best sometimes. And you know, the prices go up when there's inflation and more currency in circulation, and you know that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in your eyes, I mean, looking outside in, what do you think this local economy or this local government can do to better yourself and position, you know, more people for an inflationary environment?
Well, and I think part of that, again, the discussion when you say, it gets to what are you guys doing wrong? You know, I mean, it has to be from somebody outside saying, what is our city doing wrong? Now, I trust that when we hear our city is doing well financially, which, you know, we've heard that now compared to maybe a few years ago, we're actually financially doing well. Obviously, we had, you know, some of the water issues, but they're being addressed. I think when you say that, I say you guys, it sounds like you're doing the job. You know what I mean? And it's hard when you say something, you guys are doing the job, it means I don't think there needs to be necessarily a change. I think it's saying that everybody in their positions has the best interest of Madera. We're doing everything that we need to do. And when you say like bringing better jobs, well, that's not your job. I mean, there is somebody in that position to sell Madera to these outside agencies to come and build Madera. Now, you know, I've always had concerns and been passionate about, you know, the parks and those aspects of like the community. Because again, you know, when I have people who come in, either customers or friends that come from outside the area and they visit Madera, you know, you always look at like our ports of entry. You know, you got 145, you got 99. And it's interesting to hear when people come into the city, what does our city really look like, you know? And I know some of that, like with downtown, you know, downtown revitalization has been a topic for probably 20 plus years now, you know? So those are the kind of things that I say, what makes Madera attractive? What makes me like being here, you know? And I think for the most part, you guys do well. I know it's something that, you know, you throw money at, right? Because most of these fixes, it does take money. And that means, like you've always said, more taxes. Does anybody want to pay more taxes? No. So the money's got to come somewhere. But I think what's difficult is, again, it still has to happen. You know, like you've talked about Measure T and roads. And I've told you I've always been very anti-Measure T, only for the fact of their sign says for better roads, but you already tax me now and my roads are crappy. You know, so as a city, as a council, I still support what you guys are doing. I think you guys are still doing a great job. And that's where it gets in the mix of, do we need to shuffle things up? I don't think so. I think everything is working as it should. So
Well, coming from you, Rohi, especially a business owner looking outside in, remind me to buy you a coffee.
yeah,
And I mean that in a good way, because not too many of the times do you hear that from folks. There's always something that we're lacking, right? There's always something that we're lacking. If it's not your certain departments or water or infrastructure and what have you. But again, you said it best. Our job as a council is to really make sure that we fund those services that are important to residents. Now, outside forces, again, trying to create these economies, I mean, we all give direction, but we are the lead agency that provides that not only to your city manager, your community development director, and you have a economic development director that's outside that serves the county. Those are the people that we pay to try to get us these opportunities to sell Madera, right? To sell Madera and say, hey, here's why you want to park in Madera. Here's why you want to bring your...
But that's always been my one big issue is how many people are employed by Madera County who do not reside in Madera County.
And that's
always been a real hot topic because that's your taxpayer money because they'll buy lunch and then the rest of their money goes elsewhere.
Here's a good question. We're going to segue that and introduce our candidate here, Mr. Abel Perez, that's also running for the Unified School District. I'm glad you can be here because some of the questions relate to that. And when I served on the school board, I will tell you that was one of my pet peeves is why is it that more teachers don't live here? And this is nothing against teachers, by the way. Just what is it about Madera that doesn't make it attractive for you to stay here? And obviously, people have the right to want to say, you know what? Well, I like this particular neighborhood and what have you. But what would you do as a candidate or as a trustee to try to bring that back? I mean, if you can. I mean, this may be outside and this may be a loaded question for you, but just want to hear your opinion on that.
No, I agree. Well, first off, how you guys doing? Sorry, I was a little late to the show. But that is a real issue. And I'm very involved as you each are in the community, and we're all at the same events in the evenings, on the weekends. And it's nice to be able to see or watch your children perform or do whatever they're doing alongside the city manager, alongside a city council member, right? Now, obviously, electeds have to live in the districts, right? So that's a little bit different. But that's what a true community is, right? If you can create opportunities of camaraderie at these events, that's where you're going to get the most information. I'm sure, Jose, when you're out there, watching your kids do whatever they have going on at that time, people will approach you and they'll ask you questions, and that's really your opportunity to ask questions back and get a pulse for what the community actually wants, right? Very difficult to do that with somebody who's in Clovis watching their kids' youth football game on a Saturday. You don't see those individuals, right? And we see that in city council, school, our schools, and of course the county as well. Now, I was recently told that, well, our schools, it's actually not as bad as we think. It's actually like 1 in 50%. Or just under 50% of people who actually live outside, right? It was like 47% or something. But the perception is, for every other person I talk to who has a good paying job here in Madera with the school district, the perception is, man, every other person I talk to is going to be living in Fresno, right? And that's far too much, right? And so, how do we incentivize people? How do we encourage people to call Madera home? I think what we're starting to see, and we have some decent traction, is we're kind of home growing our workforce, right? So we're promoting our students now to, hey, go out, get your education, get your experience, but come back. Call Madera home, come back, right? And I think if we can continue to be welcoming to those individuals with those type of opportunities, right? We talk about the red tape over at the city, right? How hard is it to open a business? How hard is it to do things like that, right? Those are the individuals we should be prioritizing, saying, "Hey, look, you grew up here. You're Madera bred, and so we want to ensure that we're supporting you. We don't want to scare you off. We don't want to frustrate you, right? Because if you're from Madera, let's face it, you have this understanding that like, oh, Madera's always been that way. Oh, Madera doesn't have this. Madera doesn't have those amenities, right? But what I think a lot of people don't realize is how much opportunity Madera is willing to or could potentially offer you, right? Land is relatively cheap. Commercial space is there's still availability there versus other districts. And of course, there's opportunity to grow your business relatively fast within just a couple of years because of the community center that we have, right? Just everything seems a little bit more focused. It's a little bit easier to get your name out. We're not that big giant city quite yet, right?
And and that's why Abel Perez, again, running for MUSD, I think that's exactly the voice that not only does our community need, but also you need that same voice in our school board. Now, I am going to segue to what you said in regards to opportunities. And, sitting in the city council, you brought up a good question is what are we doing, right? So one of the expansions that we did was, hey, affordability of homes require us to construct more homes so that we have sufficient inventory. So again, we annexed Village D, which accommodates for up to 10,000 units. We're now moving on a Village E, which will accommodate additional, maybe close to 3,000 units at some point. But these are opportunities that we're providing for a lot of these folks, teachers and people that go to school here, go out, get their education. Well, we have a place for you now. The future of Madera is starting to look really good. So we want to keep and retain more of that because the more you retain, I think if I could tell you what would solve Madera's problems is to have more of that income stay here locally. Because if you can keep more of that disposable income that leaks out, then we can keep more of those jobs in here and create our own local economy. That really helps us as a city to retain more of that income. Imagine any income over $80,000 to $150,000 with local government jobs.
Yeah, but that's been, I mean, as a business owner, that's always been, I would say, a struggle because, again, even in my industry with guns, I still have plenty of people that go to Fresno and spend their money at those competitors over there just because they do. And I think that's across the board with any of the businesses here that if Madera as a whole would just, maybe their price is $1 more than the place in Fresno, or maybe they don't have as good a selection, but if you supported them, they would grow. And that's what happened to us. I mean, I was able to grow dramatically over the last 5 years because of more and more people coming to my shop. But it's also the same point when people say, well, why, again, we've talked about it. Why don't we have this? And why don't we have this place? And how come we don't have that? Well, because the places that are here, you don't support them already. The few nicer restaurants we have in town, people, like you're saying, those people that have the money and that should support them are still willing to make that 30-minute drive down the road to go to another place that's maybe a little nicer.
I'll make it very simple. You're a business owner, right? So, for example, if I opened a dealer here for nothing but Lamborghinis and maybe your exclusive high-end luxury cars, would that support, could this local economy support that? So I think business owners have to think into what am I they're trying to extract data.
But that's small. See, but that's the problem. That's small thinking. That's small thinking.
I get it. But I'm just giving you what's happening outside. I can't control what outside looks in, right? Yeah. They look from outside inside. I'm telling you from an inside out. I'm just saying, well, how can we make that different? How can we attract these people to say, hey, come and put your luxurious dealership right here because we have the income to do it. How can I support that? When they're doing
from the city side or from who? Well,
it's just from economic standpoint, right? How can I bring these people? But and that may be exaggerated, but I'm just saying in general because you said, why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? Yeah. That's not a choice that I can make. But what I can do is provide opportunity and again, as a whole, add the amenities that people want, better parks. Accommodate for development.
I would say, as far as building, right? I feel like, for one, we need to have a plan, right? What is Madera? Who do we want to be? And I think that depending on who you talk to, there's going to be different answers, right? Some still want to be the small town, right? Some still want to be we all love Percos, right? But we want a lot of Percos. We don't want the chain restaurants sometimes, right? But then you talk to other people and we do want the chain restaurants. But, to Jose's point, these businesses are making a decision based off the traditional data that they use, right? What's the medium income? Oh, no, you can't afford us, right? Oh, no, you can't sustain our business because your population's only this and your medium income's only that, right? I think you know, and I would hope, and I don't have the answer. I can't speak on behalf of the county supervisors or the city council. Maybe Jose could shed a little bit of light, but how are we selling Madera, right? Are we sitting there and saying, Rohi, you should call Madera home? Well, you guys only have, you know, a $50,000 medium income. Yeah, but check this out. The people in the Central Valley are accustomed to commuting, right? People are commuting from Fresno, from Clovis. A 35-mile drive isn't a big deal for people to work at, right? So you open up here and you create job opportunities, people will come in, right? We have people who, we have very big, traditionally we have very big family households, right? Those generations have moved out. Many of them are in Clovis, but oftentimes, especially around seasonal times, you see that come back, right? You see them coming back home, and so there's more of a market there than I think exists on paper, right? But the problem I always said is I can't go eat ice cream, have dinner, and watch a movie without getting back into my car. Right, and that's where we have to have a plan. Where do we want to grow? Where do we want to build these entertainment center, these focal points for entertainment for our community members? And I think that's how we, as electeds, we can collect that data, confirm that this is what we want, and then create opportunities. Right, you got like Industrial Parkway, right? That created opportunities to entice manufacturing or other businesses. Hey, we have your facility right here, come park, right? And so it does take a little bit of investment, but imagine if we did that on the retail end, right? Now with the casino coming in, that's a huge opportunity. Mm-hmm. But a lot of these retailers, we can't ask, Old Navy to, hey, come downtown and renovate this whole building. And by the way, you can't just fix the front of it without fixing everything in the structure because it's way out of date. We can't expect that, right? We can't expect a company like that to do that on their own. But now if we kind of give some foundation to it and we get 10 of them at a time and we say, hey, by the way, the Gap's coming, Nike's coming, Banana Republic's coming, you guys are all going to be right here. Here's the amenities that we're going. That's a plan. That's how you entice retailers to come in bulk, right? And now, as my wife's shopping at these retailers, I don't want to shop at those stores. I don't want to watch her, look at sundresses. I want to see her wearing them, but I don't want to be there when she's shopping for them. Guess where I'm going to go? I'm going to go down to the local gun shop, and I'm going to look at guns and ammunition because that's what I like, right? And I'm going to go to the local gun range if it exists, right? And so that's how you start community, building your community but you have to have these staples, right? And you can't just say, we're going to do it one at a time. In-N-Out's here. Okay, great. Let's celebrate. But now what, right? Where's Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A is always next to In-N-Out. Mm-hmm. Where's Chick-fil-A? Why aren't we engaging them saying, hey, In-N-Out's making a killing here? I don't know if they are or they're not. They look to be busy. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that.
I mean, okay. And this is coming from the business side of it. When I opened up 12 years ago, there were, I think, 5 or 7 gun shops, right?
Really?
There's me. Okay. That shows you where our industry is going.
Yeah.
But when you say who's the majority of my customers, they're not Madera. Majority of my customers are Madera or Fresno or outside of that. Okay. You have to grow. And that's where I'm actually, when you say the Mervyn's or whoever in the Gap, no. There's already probably, I don't know how many clothing stores are in Madera, right? Those people need to grow in a way that says, why would somebody come from Fresno to shop at your store? And I think that's the problem with some of our mentality of Madera. It's I'm gonna cater to Madera, or I'm gonna cater to just this population in this corner space, right? So when you say like the In-N-Out, I've told you guys plenty of times, you're flipping hamburgers. Somebody in Madera needs to say, how do I make the next whatever to become an In-N-Out, right? Mm-hmm. How do I start flipping burgers, maybe not making as much, but growing and giving a good product and growing our name so people from Fresno drive 30 minutes to eat my hamburger. Because when you say In-N-Outs, the In-N-Outs, it's a chain, right? So like you said, like if I want In-N-Out, I'm not going to go, well, I like the one in Fresno, so I'm going to drive to the one in Fresno.
Right.
I'll go to the one in Madera if I want it, right? but you want to pull from outside. That's the problem. Is In-N-Out here is serving pretty much the people of Madera and the few people who are going down the freeway.
Oh, there's more than a few people.
Well,
right on the
okay,
freeway.
I know, but
That's a big
but,
name.
but this Madera In-N-Out is not a destination where people from Fresno are saying, "I'm going to go to the Madera one." No, they're going to find the closest one to go to,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. Like there has to be that change of mentality that says what we have in Madera needs to be a focal point for people to want to come in. And like you said, whether it's the clothing store or hamburger joint or whatever it is how does Madera incentivize those people to bring up their status? And that's always been my concern with downtown, and we're throwing money at downtown and we want to revitalize downtown. It's great. I want to have a vibrant downtown, but we've talked about the idea of like being the entertainment district downtown. Why? Because we want it to be a nice place that other people want to come in. Just like, I remember, before marriage, like we would go to the Clovis in their little downtown entertainment district and go hang out there because it was hopping. There was, like you said, I can walk out of one place, go to the next, and go to the next, and it was safe.
Or
and,
just sit there
or
and
just
hang
sit there.
out. Yeah.
Exactly. We don't have those things, like I said, that you need to pull the rest of the people back here, and then people will want to move here eventually.
And just to, there's a difference between a lot of these downtowns that you spoke about, and the biggest one is that neither one of those places except Madera has a state highway that goes right through them. So we have to partner up with our we have to partner up with Caltrans in order for us to move on these. I mean, we want all these things, but if we don't have a partner looking to
but that's where where it's like
here's the thing. Well, hold on.
Yeah.
But I mean, because a lot of it is really attractiveness of trying to get from one place to the other, right?
Sure.
If you go down, and this is the times that we go is when there's a parade, or there's something going on, or you're driving to get out through Tozier and what have you. But it's a wide road, and it doesn't really look that attractive for me to want to get out there. So having something that's more that's narrow, that has a median, that has wider sidewalks, it becomes more inviting. So you have to create the environment also for people to buy into that, right? And when you have a partner that's looking to help to bring that into reality, it's going to happen. Now, people may be naysayers, but until you see that, until you see what's out there, and you start seeing that, hey, that it's becoming more inviting, more welcoming, then people will buy into it. But for now, I mean, everybody's throwing ideas out there, but nothing's really moving until you see ground being turned over and roads being, improved. Then you're not going to see that buy-in from other people.
But let me say that if you had incentivized 10 years ago and said, if we incentivize a block away to build that as the entertainment district, wouldn't it have moved faster instead of taking a major thoroughway, cutting it down, having to work with the state and stuff, and just said, like, literally one block over is that road you're talking about. There are businesses already there. Let's incentivize all these places that are, we need the traffic and we need the parking, just move them a block over, one direction or the other. I mean, I don't understand why we had to do this long, we have to cut the road, we have to make it smaller, just to take care of the businesses that are on that roadway, instead of saying, well, literally a block away is a dead street nobody uses with property readily available. Why didn't we develop those up? I mean, we kind of did that with the housing. We did the veterans housing, over there on C Street and stuff. I mean, that was great, but go the other direction. It's one block closer to the police department.
That
would
was
have been perfect to just incentivize.
That was right in line,
Rohit,
Rohit, right in line with what I was thinking too. Is that old Madera thinking right there, where it has to be Yosemite.
Yeah.
It has to be that downtown, because that used to be downtown, and we want it to be downtown again, right? Or are we going to say the current downtown Yosemite is what it is? It doesn't look bad. It's not, it's not dirty. It's well kept, actually.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not ever going to be that, let me sit on, a chair with under an umbrella and sip on a, martini or whatever. Right. So is our plan, is that old Madera slowing us down, tying us down, making these obstacles that don't need to be an obstacle? And that's what I was saying earlier about having a plan and creating infrastructure, right? If we were to say, this is the new downtown, by the way, it's still downtown, it's just not Yosemite, but this is the new downtown. right off of all of these spaces.
Yeah.
The state doesn't own the street, everything like that. And like, you know, to all your points that you just made, why isn't that, you know, something? Is it because the old folks here who used to go to the movie theater downtown Madera aren't ever going to consider that downtown unless it's this, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but that's already part of the general plan. If you look
No,
at
I
the
know.
general plan, it's designated those areas for that specific reason.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody wanted to stimulate across that street and in that block that you're talking about, what keeps them from doing that? There's got to be someone saying, "Hey, you know what? You guys are missing the boat. What is it that makes it unattractive?" And that's the question. So, from my perspective, is that when you have traffic coming down, why is the casino coming next to the 99? Why do you think it's there and not up in the mountains? It drives traffic. Major corridors drive traffic. This is a gateway to Yosemite, right? So if we can make that
For
more,
now, though, but you're going to cut it out, and I'm going to make the next street over because that's how I got out of town.
You may not want to cut it out of town. You may want to stop by before you get out of town. You may want to look at something different there. You may want to take your shopping. You may want to take your store there, Roy. That may be a major attraction for you. Saks Guns. As you're leaving out to the countryside, or you're going out to the.
See, that's the wrong thinking. Me being here draws them into town and further in instead of the outskirts.
Again,
so.
this would be if I was looking to solicit and market, I would market down there. But anyhow, that like you said, it's maybe an old way of thinking, but think about it. When you have a road that's a lot more inviting, I think you're going to see a change in the way people look at Madera, right? Especially downtown. Since I've been here, even for decades, what's going on with downtown? Why hasn't downtown really got a grip and tried to start, these businesses and what have you? Again, it just takes something of this investment to try to help people say, you know what, now it looks a lot better. Now I can invest. Now I can sell this. Now I can buy this. We're slowly trying to bring in inviting businesses that engage the youth. I mean, granted, I'm a Generation X, I'm closer to 50. Do I really have business downtown? Yeah. What's my purpose downtown? I'm not bar hopping. I'm not out there looking for weed. But it'd be nice to have something where I can go maybe have a drink socially or something, right? Yeah. But we're making it inviting to for all ages, for all generations, and I think with this investment, you're going to see that. It may not be today, and you're going to have those naysayers that it's never going to happen. But you know what? It's happening slowly but surely. It'll take place. It might not happen in my tenure here, but it will happen, and I hope to see it grow.
But I mean, but that goes back to, and that's part of where I sit on as far as the planning and stuff. But it's part of understanding what is that area. You guys keep you wanna cut things down. You want people to walk, but when you look at the mix of what's down there, there's a whole range of things between bars, eateries. Is it open during the day? Is it open during the night? And that's the thing where you kind of have to start catering a little bit as to what is going to be down there, because at this point right now, Madera after 9 o'clock, most of the time, everything's closed except for your bars.
Even Tijuana bars closed now. TJ's.
Yeah. So I mean, when you say like, okay, we're building all this up so that at 9 o'clock it's a ghost town. Well, why?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to picture that without seeing something there, right? So, for example.
What are you going to go sit down for? You have three restaurants,
here's the thing,
a bakery, and clothing stores.
Whenever you see the subdivision going up, they're going to give you the elevations of what the house looked like. But all you see is just a lot of dirt. That's all you see. Up until you start seeing the building of this and the community and the infrastructure around that, then you start buying into it. Hey, you know what? That's actually looking nice. The park that's in the middle. Yeah. That's when you start investing in it. I'm not saying that this is the case here, but I can assure you that once you see that, you'll start seeing investment in it because you'll see something different. But
that's what I'm saying. Like me, the individual, okay, I can see investment, but just like we said, where is a single chain on any of that street? It's not.
Okay.
And this has been a plan. So where is the chain that's lined up saying we're ready to build there? They're not.
In-N-Out never saw this 20 years ago. They had an opportunity because they
Inbound
saw
wants a
something.
freeway. They
Okay,
want a freeway.
again,
Yeah.
a freeway, right?
Yeah.
You said it best, a freeway. Walmart was just again, parcel of land out there. Look what's developed around it. It didn't happen overnight. It takes time to get there and try to get buy-in.
But I'm saying right now, down Howard right here that we're on, how many chains are? Well, you got Starbucks, you got McDonald's, you got Taco Bell, you got Jack in the Box, in a 3-block area, right? This is where the commerce, and there's no freeway near us, but they believed enough to build here that there's going to be supporting traffic, and they have been. They've been here for years. But when you look at 145, how big of a stretch do you go before there's not a single chain on any of that 145? So they've done the numbers. They have the economists that done the numbers and said it doesn't work. So that's what I'm saying is if this change is so great, where are the applications for any of these people to say, I want to be there? There's tons of empty buildings. There's tons of probably cheap property, but there's not a single one lining up on any of our planning to say, look, in 2-3 years from now, I want this corner because it's going to be a hot mess. They're not.
Yeah,
So that tells me-
construction hasn't started yet, Roy, and you'll see. I can assure you that you'll see, and I will.
Because that'll be the sign. That'll be the
yeah.
sign that you did something right.
Yeah.
Because if not,
Yeah,
and we're
I mean-
still in the mom and pop and
Again,
Yeah.
the investment is done mainly by the Fed and the state in saying, hey, we're trying to reconnect these communities that we divided years back.
Sure.
Right? We created these wide freeways or highways, and that created a separation, right? Before it was just a two-way little street, downtown was the center of everything. Now it's become unattractive.
yeah.
But here we are trying to narrow that down to bring commerce back to downtown.
But let me,
and
but let me say, if
essentially,
you took that mentality with Howard right now, Howard is a 4-lane, essentially our
Yes.
super highway. If you narrowed it down to a 2-lane, that was the pitch. Hey, we're going to narrow it down. Do you think everybody in these business areas would be excited about that?
commercial. It's mainly attracted to commercial.
But I'm saying, as
restaurants,
me
but
as a business, you think
you're-
I would
you're
like
commercial.
that you're going down to a one lane each direction?
do you have?
No, I want more people. I want this is a thoroughway, like you
But
said.
you need more people and more parking.
Exactly. So-
You don't have enough parking.
I don't.
So it's really
I will
hard
say
for me to
that.
come in through your. It's hard
I-
to get in and get out.
I get that, but what I'm saying is that because this is a thoroughway, that's why you have the chains. And that's why you have so much business supporting it. But you have that same thoroughway mentality on 145, and you're wanting to take it away. And you're saying because we're going to take it away, it's going to somehow flourish.
No, we're not taking anything away. We're just making it down to
We're
where
slowing people down.
Yeah,
you're
attractive.
forcing the
but-
traffic to the streets.
That's a good conversation, Rohi. But truly,
So I will say you go down to Merced, Turlock, Hanford, even the ones that have put some money into their downtown.
Yeah.
You don't see a McDonald's down there. You don't necessarily see the chains, but I still like the question of where are the applications? Who are the applications, right? Now, sushi restaurants and those type of restaurants, that's usually what you see, right? They're locally owned and owned and operated, and that's who you attract. You flatten that road, you slow it down, you allow people to have outdoor dining, seating, everything. You attract those type of restaurants. But do we have those restaurants lined up? And if we do, what are we doing to incentivize them, right? I mean, Jose, I'm not, saying why aren't you doing this now? It's just a general question because this issue hasn't only existed for the last 5 years, right? Or 8 years. How long have you been on the council? How old's Madera? Mm-hmm. And we're still we keep getting further and further away from having it, right? The plans are in place. I think a lot of the planning, the work has been done, the vision has been done. But now who's responsible for out there collecting those applications, right? Who's out there promoting, hey, you open up a business right here, here's a grant that the city of Madera is going to get you to park your business here. Mm-hmm. Wait 5 years, or not 5 years, that's a long time. Wait a year to open up your restaurant because we want you to open it up down here. And by the way, we're going to give you, a $50,000 grant, right? And what does a $50,000 grant get you? Well, it gets you a down payment on an SBA loan, right? What's an SBA loan? A small business admin loan, right? And this gives people the opportunity to now fund their project, right? So you don't need to, to dip into a franchise, and most people will gravitate to those because it's kind of like a business in a box, right? But there's other finance opportunities that exist for business owners. But are we supporting them with that?
Yeah,
right?
and that's
can
a
we
good-
incentivize those?
Again, we build a business park or an industrial park for a reason, right? We didn't just build the infrastructure there just to say, hey, we're going to build infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because we knew that at some point there would be a demand for industrial park. We have one here, right next to us, Freedom Industrial, and we have one by the airport. If you start looking at the businesses that are coming in there, they're starting to see that Madera is a good place to put their businesses, industrial businesses, and you're starting to see the infill now. You're going to see it there, and you're going to see it there. Now, this council, to the credit of this council, is we had an opportunity to make a decision on whether or not we wanted to allow road diet. What does the road diet do for us? Well, here's the investment that Caltrans is willing to bring you if you take these terms. We could have said, no, we don't want to do that. We'll leave Madera with the 4 lanes and we'll there. It's not a choice that we had. But we took on it's not a choice that we had as far as what we can do with that road. That is a Caltrans maintained road. It's not a road that we own. And relinquishment wasn't even an option. So now there's an opportunity to work with them. There's funding available to narrow it down, add a couple of roundabouts, and make it and beautify it. Beautify it in a way that it hasn't for decades. So I'm proud. I'm proud of that. And what it'll bring in the future. So, I mean, one can say that, hey, well, where are the applications? Where are the applications for the Freedom Industrial, right? You build the infrastructure so that people know that, hey, there's opportunity for it. We are incentivizing you to come by here. Here's what we have for you. Park your business here. We want your business here. That will happen as well. That will happen as well. And I can assure you that. Merced, if you go down Merced, it's a 2-way, main street, but look at the businesses that it attracts. You don't see any McDonald's. You did see a Starbucks. You see local businesses that buy into it.
Yeah.
You have Embark, for example, something that we brought in. We said, hey, look at these 2 abandoned buildings. You have the Chase building, you have the Citibank building. And now we have a tenant in there that's willing to bring in revenues to the city, attraction to some degree. We have another one that potentially can come out here in the next couple of months. Okay, now we have 2 businesses that are setting forefront for the next improvements that we're going to do down there. That's buy-in.
Yeah.
That's buy-in. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not seeing the applications like Rohi said, but they'll come. They'll come. Again, credit to your city council that said, we're willing to give you we're willing to invest.
Well, and I think my thing, Jose, for me, and I think maybe Rohi was kind of giving some support of that as well as, it doesn't have to be Yosemite, and I think while it sounds good, it doesn't have to be Yosemite.
But you're making it seem like we had the money here. Here's $15 million of investment.
Right.
Let's go throw it to downtown there. No. The investment came directly from Caltrans.
So
our
I
buy-in,
think
our
I think that
buy-in.
needs to be stated first though, because anytime anybody starts a conversation about downtown, it's always, well, that's owned by the state. It's a state highway, and we start talking about all of the challenges. But the way you're putting it right now is those challenges have been overcome already. Right?
Well, here's the thing.
So
there's got to
is
be
that-
buy-in. There's got to be buy-in from the city, because if they gave us the option, we have this funding
Yeah.
for this particular project. Do you want it? We could have said no. We don't want to take away the autonomy of having this 4-way
But
lane going
did you
through.
say yes, or is it?
No, we jumped on it and said, you know what, this is a good
So it's
opportunity.
yes, right?
Yes.
So that's what I mean.
Yes.
The problem has been solved. So why do we keep talking about the problem? We have a solution already, right?
Correct.
So, but why does everybody that I talk to keep saying, "Well, it's a state highway, so we have to do," but rather than saying, "Yeah, we're working on it. It's coming. We approved it, right? Downtown's going to be beautified."
Yes, and beginning in 2025.
Like
when-
nobody ever says that though.
No.
Everybody always just goes 10 years back and talks about all the challenges
Correct.
that existed.
Correct.
But as an
we're
elected,
we're taking,
start there.
We're taking one of those challenges off.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from that, hopefully we build on that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the you have to be optimist.
Yeah.
Because if not, then we have nothing.
No, I agree, but like like I said, it just even in this conversation, but other conversations that I have, it's like you have this conversation, and everybody wants to start dwelling on the challenge, right? But and then then you have to probe, and then get to 15 minutes into the conversation, and then it's like, oh, but we're good, we got the funding for
Well,
it.
remember the
state is paying.
remember
for
that the
it,
challenges aren't what we've already accepted and decided on. The challenges were where are your applications? Well, come on. I mean, how else can I explain it to you, articulate that? Hey,
No, I was attacking the applications because it was like I was under the impression that we're still trying to find the funding to do it. We're still trying to get the state to agree to do it.
I said it at the beginning that this
Yeah.
road diet is going to generate a beautified downtown, or at least the major corridor that takes you out to the Tozier
Let me
and
ask you this though: your
$145.
$50 million question. That $50 million came from tax.
Not 50,
pay. How
not
many?
50. I said 15.
15 for what?
Correct.
15 million.
Within, yeah. Okay.
Is there going to be, or how long is it going to take for that dramatic improvement in business to recoup that 15 million? Because again, as a taxpayer,
But
that
no-
15
but
million
see,
came.
that-
It's
that-
not state
that-
money. That is
Okay,
taxpayer
I
money.
get it.
So is there going to be? So we have, like you always said, this downtown generates a certain amount of income already. Is there going to be this such dramatic increase in income because of that $15 million?
Let's just say, Rohi, that the investment went in there no matter what. And we had
Okay.
nothing to do with it because it's their own
But that's,
highways
but that's
that
financial. But that's what I'm
okay,
saying. Like when
yeah.
you spend somebody's money, you,
I get
and,
it.
and yes, it was free money from the
Well-
state. That's not. You could have said no, and
The state has an obligation to take care of its freeways and highways. That's that's Caltrans. That's
Sure.
their responsibility. It just so happens that one of those interstates or highways is going right across our city. It's their obligation to take care of that. So regardless if it was a 4-lane or a 2-lane, the investment would have been there because it's an obligation that they have. So we just fought for it because, hey, here's an opportunity. We have set amount of money that we can bring here now if you decide to go on a road diet. Said, you know what? Well, shit, we're not going to get anything anyway. So if I continue to leave it the way it's status quo and kick the can down the road, Rohi, we would have this conversation 5 years from now. But 5 years from now, there'll be a transformation down there that you and I can circle back and say, hey, what did I say? And if those applications are not there, then you can tell me. You remember that, Councilmember Rodriguez?
but my point to that in closing is just to be, instead of thinking or wondering, you have plenty of cities that have done it, and I don't think you've seen those cities explode because of this change. I think they've maintained what they are.
That
you know?
reconnecting communities and reconnecting grants that are coming from the federal and the state, this is fairly new. This is coming again, trying to make the right thing about the separation that
I'm
they
saying
did
when
with
we
these
these
freeways.
these downtowns that of other cities have already built out, like you should already have the data to say there's going to be this much expansion because of it. Not, well, we think there's going to be or there is. There should be that. As a taxpayer, I mean, that's where you want the supporting document that says Merced did this. They were doing 1 million and whatever, and now they're doing 3 million because of that.
But okay, again, you're asking us to anticipate what the projections are with the federal or a state highway. Again, if it was our own, think about it. If it was our own, I think I'd be edgy about saying let's throw $15 million just to see if it hits.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do that, Rohi. I don't think that's me. But hey, going back,
Sorry.
tell me why Abel Perez is running for MUSD, because I still haven't heard that. I mean, I appreciate all your comments about the city and all, but let me put you on the.
This is your turn. Your turn.
Let me put you on the hot seat and ask you, Abel, what are you going to do that's different than what's taking place today? What's your vision for MUSD?
You know, I'm a little bit selfish in the sense, you know, like what the way I look at things is on behalf of myself as a parent. You know, I have 3 sons that are 2 are, one's in 9th grade, one's in 6th grade, and the other one will start kindergarten next year, right? So it's in my best interest to provide a quality education for those individuals, right? In addition to that, between my wife and I, we have over 100 first cousins, right? And so you can only imagine how many second cousins we have with their children, all in the education system, right? So I hear it all day long. So not only, you know, do I have my own skin in the game, but I'm surrounded by people on a day-to-day basis who have their children, in there. And coming from a small town like Madera, it's, especially for myself growing up, it's always like, I wonder what's out there. And even though people tell you, Jose, like, you could be whatever you want when you grow up, the reality is it's really, it's very difficult, to do that. And there are some anomalies. You do have individuals who kind of, things just happen right for them. They do all the right things and they prosper, right? And they're the hometown heroes. They're an astronaut, whatever it might be. But for the most part, our students, our children are subjected to the opportunities that we're providing to them, right? The educational foundation that we're giving to them, that's what their life is going to be dependent on or dictated by in many cases, right? And again, there are individuals who, my grandfather, for instance, he dropped out of school in second grade. His father was killed in Mexico, and he was the oldest son, and so it was, what did you have to do? You had to go to work, right? And you had to provide for your family. My grandfather was very smart, came over to the States, was a carpenter. He knew all of the mathematics that apply to carpentry, and he can put together a house, right? And that's so there are people who can break through those challenges. But when we're talking about the masses, for the majority of individuals, their job opportunities, the quality of their life is going to be dependent on what we expose them to as students, right? And so if we don't have an expectation of excellence in the classroom, excellence in participation, excellence in co-curricular activities like theater and band and arts and sports, if we don't create that mentality for our students, nobody else will. When you're a kid, you think, oh, I'll do that when I'm older. Well, guess what? You get older, you still have those bad habits that you developed and you had been doing all those years, right? It takes a lot of time before you can kind of change those behaviors, right? And sometimes maturity certainly helps, but but imagine, Jose, if you were, given organizational skills, if you were given, the opportunity to learn about government at a similar capacity to what you know now. Imagine if you had those years back after school, how much further along you may be, right? Or how much, whatever ambitions you have, how much closer you may be to achieving those. Those are the type of opportunities that I think about daily, and that's what I want to ensure that we're offering to our students of Madera. Now, in a perfect world, we would say, well, that's up to the families and the parents to support their kids and teach them the ways, and which I certainly do as a parent. But the reality is, especially for the demographics that we have in our community, not all kids go home and have dinner at the same table with their family, their mom and dad. They're working. There's many conditions that are different than your traditional what's that show called? Your traditional shows that you see on TV where family, dad's cutting the turkey sort of thing, and everybody's talking about how their day is. Those aren't the realities, right? Even in my household, there's some days where we're running to and from practices and we're grabbing McDonald's on the go, and so those challenges right there can prevent students from learning about opportunities, right? And they're only at home just a few hours, maybe with their parents, before they go to sleep, wake up, and go back to school. So our students are in school for 8+ hours. This is the opportunity where we have to really influence them in a positive way, provide some opportunities. I mean, some of my favorite teachers, I don't know about you, Jose, but some of my favorite teachers were the teachers that really helped you think in different ways, right? Art teachers, introduced me to books. Those type of teachers. Those are the ones I remember. Why? Because they were taking me and putting me in like a new way of thought. Right? They were teaching me something that nobody else was. I wasn't exposed to books. I wasn't things of that nature outside of that. But when I was in that classroom, you know, those opportunities really helped me, and those are the most memorable. Now we can take those quality teachers who care about our students like that, and we can continue to multiply them, support them, multiply that mentality, and just have like this movement of we want to be excellence. We care about our children. We love them. We want Madera kids to be on the map, right? We want to be able to watch them on on a news channel and see them as a host, right? We want to see them on the Bloomberg report and giving financial input because they've made it, right? We want to see them mayor of Madera or mayor of neighboring towns or whatever it may be, right? Why not us?
So, given that that information, is that something that lacks at our current district?
I think we've made a lot. I mean, we've had a lot of leaders that really, move the needle and really push us. Earlier when we were talking with you, we talked about the mentality, right? Do we want to be old Madera or are we moving forward, right? And, part of that is, Madera used to be almost very one-dimensional, right? Agriculture was heavy in our economy and still continues to be to this day. But, so one thing that I do appreciate is the introduction of all of the STEM that we're seeing in our schools, right? So as we start to recognize that the world is evolving, even within agriculture is very strong in engineering and mechanics, and they're using all of this equipment, for even what they're doing. So as we're like transitioning into these things, I think we're doing a really good job at it. For me, I think the school district right now spreads themselves a little too thin, right? We're so eager to introduce all of these programs, and let's face it, the state of California has issued a lot of funding, and we've qualified for a lot of funding here in Madera because our demographics and our economic challenges. And so you hear that all the time. Oh, we have tons of money. Oh, we're going to do this, ping pong league. And oh, we're going to do this, thumb war team. And, like a little dramatic. I'm being, goofy about that. But there's all of these programs that we're doing. We're spreading ourselves thin. We have teachers, coaching multiple things. And it's kind of like, let's slow down a little bit and let's be good at the things that we do offer, right? Let's move forward with the co-curricular activities that we have in place, and let's be really good at those. And let's not burden our families and our students ultimately, right? Because you burden mom and dad, you're burdening the kid because they get all the flack from mom and dad when they get home. But what I mean by that is, son comes home and says, "Dad, I joined this. Great. I'm so glad you signed up. Thank you. So, that's awesome. I'm glad you're participating." But then in the back of your mind, you can't help but to think, man, how much is this going to cost me? Because the fundraiser's coming. My kids both my kids are multiple sport athletes, and I know every time that the season starts, there's going to be fundraisers, right? And so we're going to have to go to all of our family and, hey, can you sponsor us, or you're going to have to fork over that check, right? We have funding, where's that out, right? So I think that there's things that we could be doing better, and sometimes we just have to slow down and realize that we need quality over quantity.
And do you feel like, and here's a question, or at least something that I've kind of picked up on what you said, is that maybe as a learning environment, we provide an umbrella of all these services that we want to, our expectations for every one of those services is excellent, but yet the standards of how to get there may not meet the expectations. I think sometimes in a learning environment, we want to be the best in sports, the best in academics, the best in every single little subject that's out there. But in reality, I mean, are we focusing a lot on trying to be excellent in every single little item or subject that sometimes we miss the boat? Mm-hmm. We miss the boat because we become less efficient in trying to become the best at everything and not focusing on the true needs of every individual.
Yeah.
Because every individual learns differently. But if you're showing them education at a level that all should be able to be proficient at, then I think we're missing the boat. I mean, if anything, every single student out there has a different quality, a different skill set. And I don't think, and this is one thing that I was always a proponent about, is having to develop an individual education plan for that individual. And those things, as our economies, our world is changing. You know, we're getting away from like the coding, because now with AI it does it for you. Things are changing really fast. So what can we expect from our schools? I mean, you said it. We're getting all this funding, but what is that funding? How do you hold accountability to that funding? Like, how can you attach that funding to the success of that student? And I think there's systems in place and processes to help us get there, but at the same time, we're doing that for just about every single subject out there. I believe that if we can become unique in one arena, whether it's STEM, whether it's career technical, whether it's nutrition, whether it's sports, you become good at something, and you become recognized. And that stems, and that'll leak out to everything else that you do, because the expectations have to be good somewhere.
Well, that's where, co-curricular activities are so important, right? Because it creates engagement.
And do you feel that we lack in the co-curricular activities? Do you feel that this is where your strength can be? I mean, as a candidate, what sets you apart from this other incumbent and or the remain? I'm not trying to say you're taking on the school board, but what do you bring to the table that can certainly set us apart from other school districts?
Well, I think it's just understanding of how to achieve that. You made some good points earlier, so I do want to circle back to that. But so what I was going to say was, the co-curricular activities, that's what creates engagement, right? Student engagement. And you talked, especially in the middle school age students, you talk to any teacher, admin, those are the hardest students to engage, right? They're going through a lot at that point. And those are the opportunities to really engage individuals. Now, I just within the last few years served as a coach, a basketball coach for 7th grade. I saw firsthand what these students were going through, but I also saw lack of support for the program. And I'll say it. I wasn't even given coach's polo and I was told that we weren't Clovis. So I showed up in my regular clothes. Right? We go play Sanger schools, and everybody's wearing a matching tracksuit. Everybody has matching shoes. Everybody has their gear in a matching duffel bag. And I ask a parent, hey, man, you guys, everybody like pitch in from that. Oh no, that the school provides that, right? That's part of being on the team, right? When you get put on this team, they give you all of this stuff, right? That's engagement right there. Do you think our students now, as a coach here, I had several players. We started with 15. We ended up with like 12 because a few players dropped out. Right? It just they weren't engaged. Decent players weren't top player. Decent, had the abilities to be better. Right? But their outside temptations or outside the things that were pulling them in different directions from the outside overtook their engagement with that basketball team, right? So they leave, and and I still see some of those individuals today, and they're on that path that steered them away from that basketball team, and I can't help but wonder, man, what happens if we would have kept them engaged, right? And so that's what I was meaning about supporting our co-curricular activities, and if we agree to do something, let's do it to its full potential, right? Now, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to hang up the championships and say, we're the best, we're number one, right? But it's not always about being the best, being number one. It's giving your students the opportunity to be the best versions of themselves, right? It's making them feel like we truly believe in them, right? And we're not just going to tell you we believe in you, we're going to show you, right? And so if you are part of this program, you have the tools, you have the resources. You're not going to have to wonder, or your parents aren't going to have to wonder if, man, are we doing a disservice staying in this school district? Should we move to another one that has the amenities, right? That provides for their students, that values their student athletes or individuals who are involved in other co-curricular activities. So I think that's been my experience. That's where I see firsthand where engagement's number one. Right? We have to find ways to better engage our students so that When the coaches tell them, hey, your grades are down. Hey, you're late to class. Your teacher just reached out to me. It means something. I don't want to disappoint my coach. I don't want to disappoint my instructor. I don't want to disappoint the the leader of this group that I'm part of, right? And they're holding me accountable. And our coaches and our admins, our staffing, they do a great job of caring for those who care for themselves, right? But and what I mean by that, and I tell my kids that all the time, right? If you show interest in something, your teacher is going to love that. Your coach is going to love that. If you show interest, if you show up, you have a passion for something, they're going to reciprocate that right back to you. They're going to know that, hey, my time vested into you isn't going to go without, right?
There's value behind that.
But we can't just rely on our coaches and our teachers to do that. We have to support them from a higher level, right?
It takes
from
a village.
leadership
It takes a village to raise a child, right? And that's the term that they use, and that's no different here. There's no exception to our community here in Madera. But look, Abel, I know we're running out of time. I just want to let people know that you're very engaged, that you are the qualified candidate. Tomorrow you have this campaign kickoff, right? Next Thursday. Thank you. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And if you guys are watching us here and you'd like to partake in that, please come out and Abel's campaign fundraiser.
We're going to do a meet and greet at the Vineyard Restaurant. It's going to start at 5:30 p.m. This is going to be next Thursday. And I want to say that's the 11th. Let me just confirm.
I think it's the 10th. The 10th, yes.
It's the 10th. So October 10th, the Vineyard Restaurant, 5:30 p.m. It's going to be an opportunity for you to, meet with me, ask any questions that you might have. Enjoy maybe a cocktail or some appetizers. We're going to have some swag gear there as well. So you'll be able to get your yard signs, maybe even a T-shirt or a pin. It'll be a good time. You'll hear a little bit from some of my colleagues and of course from myself. And really the purpose, Jose, is trying to most people they know about electeds and what they do, and they see the signs and they see you out there knocking on doors. But what a lot of people don't realize is doing all of that serves a purpose. It's communicating to your people, and not only are you trying to explain why you're the best candidate for the position, but also retain information from the people, right? Collect as much information as you can so that when you do assume the seat, you know exactly what the expectation is. You know what people within your district are asking for. You know what concerns that they have. But of course, all of this does cost money, right? And so, we are going to be seeking some, campaign contributions. And these funds go to the yard signs. They do go to the big billboard signs. There's application fees, and there's fees for just about everything that you could think of, even printing out mailers. So I am seeking some support, monetary support as well. And so you don't have to commit to anything. Any campaign funds, if you could just show up and listen, and we can maybe have that discussion at a later time.
And where can people go if they wanted to do something like online, or is there a link that they can certainly tap and click on so that they can go ahead and contribute to the campaign effort?
Yeah, for sure. So you could find me on Facebook and Instagram, of course, and there are links there as well. Otherwise, you could reach out to me directly. You can call me at 559-706-1241. Or, like I said, send me a message. I do have a campaign Venmo account as well. That Venmo is at vote_Abel Perez. So you could find me there as well. And so there's multiple ways you can contribute. So in addition to, in lieu of a monetary contribution, any support that, simply putting a yard sign out, letting your friends and family know that I'm on the ballot for this position, and that I have your support, and they should support me as well. That goes a long way, because all of these ideas, all of this logic, all of this understanding doesn't do anything unless you get the most votes, right? Unless you assume the seat.
Exactly. So there you have it. You have information as far as how to get a hold of Abel and also how to contribute to his campaign. One of the things that I do want to bring is that as a weekly jargon, we've been talking about a lot of local issues here. And I think, that certainly stems to your passion of wanting to get involved. And that's why I personally endorsed you. I'm sure Rohi and this Weekly Jargon, we all endorse you because we see that you're vested in the community. Not only are your kids in school, but in sports and in all the things that you talk about that surround your ideas as to why, Madera Unified needs someone like you. It's exactly the reason why, because you're vested. You're vested and you want to see the outcomes also, not only for your children, but for the children in the community of Madera. So I'm very proud to endorse Abel, and I look forward to seeing some of you folks out at this event. Again, this is at the Vineyard on October 10th from 5:30 on out. Come out and just say hi, have a drink, have an appetizer, and get to mingle with Abel. Ask him the questions, impress him with those questions as to why he's doing it. If you haven't heard it from today's show, then we'll do a follow-up. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe. If you're wondering why the third Jargoneer had to leave early, we did have an extended show today, and he had to tend to some business. But again, we'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and touch on these subjects. If in fact you decide this is a good conversation, like, subscribe. Again, thank